evening, Warchant.com members, alongside Ira Schoffel and Matt LaSerre. My name is Tom Lang. You guys know us because you're the members. We don't have to introduce ourselves like we've never met before. Welcome into another edition of Ask Warchant Anything, where that is quite literally the show. For up to an hour, as many questions as you have, we will answer. Ira, Matt, Ira first. How you doing tonight?
I'm great. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. Matt, what you got? How you doing?
All good, all good.
Good. We've got Tony Greco in the chat already, Dave Doherty. Anybody who is a member of warchant.com and you want to convince your friends, remember that we've got a special that runs through midnight tonight. It's $1 for 1 month or 25% off the annual subscription. But that's for other people, not you. Thank you all so very much for being members of warchant.com. So tonight we're going to start with board questions. There's been a thread on the Tribal Council since this morning, and we've seen some questions populate. It could be about Florida State, conference realignment, practice, recruiting, whatever it is. Matt's got you covered on a couple of fronts. He does a lot of recruiting for us. Ira's been to every single one of Florida State's practices ahead of the trip to Jacksonville tomorrow. And yeah, I can do a jack of all trades thing too. So the first question of the night, and I'll post it right over here on the side.
Real quick, before we go into that, should we touch on the Marco Rubio letter to the NCAA that we just posted a story about?
We can, sure. Yeah. I know that you posted that it's on the front page right now of the site. You can multitask, everybody. Click over there and read it. But go ahead, Ira.
Yeah, no, just when we talked to Mike Norvell yesterday about Daryl Jackson, it just feels like this is the first chance we've had to talk to the folks since this happened. But yesterday, when Mike Norvell announced that Daryl Jackson would be ineligible this season, the NCAA declined his waiver. He was asked, is there any other recourse, anything else you could do? And, Norvell was like, well, we're looking to see if there's anything we could do, but probably not much. And from what we had heard, they had pretty much exhausted the NCAA's process. But today, Marco Rubio, senator from Florida, sent a letter to the NCAA asking them to reconsider it. It's also included in the story that North Carolina's governor, Roy Cooper, has sent a letter on behalf of North Carolina's receiver, Tez Walker, who also, I think it's Tez Walker, I think it's his name, who also got declined yesterday by the NCAA. So we'll see if any political pressure, affects things at all. I don't know if it will or if it won't, but certainly doesn't hurt to have people in high places lobbying on their behalf.
Well, did it surprise you, Ira, that Coach Norvell left a slight opening in yesterday's presser? I mean, he didn't say it's an open and shut case. We won't have him this year. He wanted to leave that 1% out there. What do you think about that?
Yeah, and he even mentioned one point like missing games this season.
Yeah.
Which, again, there's a couple things you could do. There's political pressure like this, and then there's also, threats of legal action. And there have been situations in the past where student athletes have either sued or were threatened to sue, and sometimes that has an impact as well. So maybe theoretically, there's a way it gets reduced. Again, I don't know. I didn't want to go too far down that road yesterday because from an NCAA standpoint, I did feel like they were done, but they could go the political or legal route.
We'll stick with the news of the day then before we pivot to the questions. I'm sure some of these will be about the news of the day, but Matt, in your department, you work for both things, team and recruiting, but Red Morgan flips from Florida State. He goes to Alabama. Your thoughts on that? And I know there's going to be a question about where Florida State goes from there, but what would you say about that event today?
I think it was something we kind of saw coming or trending in that direction. He took a visit to, I believe, Auburn and Alabama in that 1 weekend in July where kids could visit. So it kind of looked like it was trending that way. Keep in mind, he's from Alabama. We just had, obviously, Charles Lester and KJ Bolden come in, and those are people he'll have to compete with directly. So that's just a lot of competition there. And I would say that's probably the reason why. Now, who's to say he's not going to have that competition at Alabama? He probably will. But the difference is he's from there, and it's just closer to home.
Oh, that's succinct, yeah. And again, visits, sometimes they can change a kid's mind, and that was something in late July. Ira, did you want to chime in?
No, it just kind of cracked me up when he committed. I mean, I just remember thinking, I think Florida State fans, after what happened last year with the defensive end from Alabama, a lot of FSU fans are a little jaded at this point about going and getting kids from the state of Alabama if Alabama or Auburn ends up wanting them. And, kind of maybe this was a little more painless because it happened in August as opposed to happening in December.
Matt, do you think it's over with Red, or do you think they're going to stay in touch? Tony
Yeah,
Gregg.
I think it's pretty much over with. You also have Jamari Howard coming up,
Mhm.
or who is a big target for FSU right now, and they want him really bad. I mean, that's an easy replacement right there. And again, if you look at the industry rankings, they didn't move up a spot, they didn't move down a spot, whatever. Like, it didn't really affect anything. And again, it's because you already have such a good class that it wasn't that big of a loss, in my opinion.
Makes sense to me. All right, let's pivot to the boards. And here's an off-the-board question, if you will. What are your favorite restaurants in Tallahassee outside of the restaurants that sponsor this site and its content? Ira, go ahead.
I mean, I'm not the best. I mean, there's certain places I like. Some local places I like Birds. For people that like a really good burger or chicken sandwich, it's kind of a dive. Well, it is a dive. That's kind of their thing. They're not trying to compete with the upscale restaurants. They kind of embrace being a dive. It's down there, not too far from, right across the street from the hotel that the team stays in, the 4 Points near downtown Tallahassee. We do a lot of chains, man. We live up on the northeast side of town, so we end up at a lot of chains. We like Little Italy. I know you're a big fan of Little Italy as well. But we're, from a chain perspective, I like walk-ons a lot. Walk-ons, if you want to jump on board and sponsor anything with us, they'd be a welcome addition. I really like some of the stuff they have there as well.
Matt, what you got? You probably have the trendy places in Tallahassee to go to down. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I still live by campus, so I'm in College Town a lot. I'm a big MadSo guy, Madison Social. I'm actually going there after this to do the drink challenge show. So I'm a big MadSo guy. I do like walk-ons. I go walk-ons at home. Their Gator Bites are good. I didn't know we had one in Tallahassee, so that's good to know. For more,
you gotta come up to where the adults live, Matt. You gotta.
I'm not there yet. But also, if you're going more out, I really like Ted Montana's. That's a place I go a lot during parents' weekends and stuff when I was in college. The pickles instead of the bread is big for me.
Matt, if you just keep going another 2 minutes up Cap Circle, you're gonna run towards walk-ons. It's right there.
Okay.
So, yeah. It's so on brand though, Ira. As somebody who went to school here 15 odd years ago when I graduated, you just don't know that other parts of Tallahassee exist until you get to about 24, 25 years old. I'll give you the hot list real quick. Max Diesel, I appreciate the question. Little Italy for Italian, there's no question there. Recently, we had an on-3 dinner at table 23, and the Lucky Goat rubbed ribeye steak was insane. It was really, really good. Go ahead.
Did all three of us have that?
I think so.
Yeah. It was. Excellent.
Yeah, and Matt was throwing down with the martinis during the.
I was.
He was not messing around. He's like, "This ain't on my dime." Martini, make it a double. And then if you want good pizza in general, go to either Little Italy. Ask for well done. That is the cheat code. Ask for well done or decent pizza. I think is pretty awesome too.
And I love Momo's too. I'm partial to Momo's as well.
Yep. Ira didn't say Horizons. Yep. That's
No. We still love Horizons. They said people that aren't sponsors. We've had partnerships with Horizons in the past. So obviously, Corner Pocket, all the people that have done deals with us in the past or were sponsors still, we support. But these are some of the places that don't spend money with us yet anyway.
Yeah, from the sponsor side, Bradley Bites and bacon wrap sausage at Corner Pocket. And then the sliders at Gordo's because they put ground beef and chorizo together, which is like a cheat code. That's absolutely ridiculous.
Underrated, by the way, real quick. The Gordo burger, who would have thought, but the Gordo burger is really good.
Matt knows about that because there's one near campus. So this is the redundancy that we have with at least that sponsor. 0-0 Nada asks, after we close this big deal, is there any chance the president and athletic director can help the TLH airport getting some direct routes to Indy and Minneapolis? The jury's out on that. Ira, what is your level of satisfaction with the airport at present? You travel more than we do.
The biggest problem I have with the airport is the fact that it's on the other side of the world. It's so inconveniently located. Yeah. It is what it is, man. It's like the biggest problem with being in college athletics for Florida State is you're in a small town and you're flying to small towns. So if you're trying to fly from Tallahassee to, Winston-Salem or Blacksburg, Virginia, good luck. I mean, you're either going to have to, it's one way or the other. You're probably going to have to drive an hour or two to make it happen. Speaking of Gordo's, by the way, I'm drinking out of the Gordo's cup. So
There you go.
the fine china. I broke out the fine china for tonight's show.
Everybody in Tallahassee has one of those. If you haven't lived in Tallahassee, unless you've got a Gordo's Cup or a Bumpus Cup somewhere around your house. Matt's fine with the airport, right? Because you fly to Dallas, so you're good.
Yeah, I got a direct flight. I'm fine.
Yeah, you're one of the few, the proud, the lucky. I'm okay with it. It's whatever. You just have to go through Atlanta to get anywhere else. It kind of sucks. 2:00 today, Alex asked the question, where does FSU stand on the possible additions of Stanford and Cal to the conference? Ira, are they one of the hard no's? I've seen that speculated that there are a few hard no's out there. Do they care because they're piecing and they say, you do what you're going to do? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have an official word from Florida State on this, but yeah, I suspect that they're in the hard no camp, and I've seen that floated around as well. They still have to operate as if they're part of the ACC. We don't know yet if they're going to announce that they're leaving by August 15th or if they're going to wait until maybe next August 15th. But I still think there's a decent chance they do it by this August 15th. But either way, they're still part of the conference. They haven't been kicked out, so they get a vote. And it makes no sense at all. It makes no sense at all. The only sense it makes is it just reeks of desperation. The only sense it makes is, hey, we want to have more people in our group at the end, just to have as many people in our group as we can have, as we all just drift off into the abyss. It just, the ACC's, as a conference, it's pretty much dead man walking no matter what. And I don't think this changes anything.
Yeah, I agree. If they come in for like a 20% share and the difference gets fed over to Florida State and Clemson, then maybe. But even still, you're just prolonging the inevitable, right?
Yeah, that's not a long-term solution.
Yeah, agreed. From Anon with a lot of numbers after it. Thank you, Anon. How much does the defense have to improve in order for FSU to go undefeated in the regular season? Okay, so you're not just making it out of the LSU game with a win. You're going 12-0. Ira, do you think they need to be a top what defense?
That's top 20. I don't think I don't think the defensive numbers are going to be great this year because I think they're going to score a ton, right, and teams are going to get a lot of possessions. So I don't know. The defensive numbers may actually look worse this year than last year. But I just think that they just have to be a defense that gets a few stops. I don't know that you need to get more than 3 or 4 stops in a game to feel good about Florida State winning. But I think it's going to be better than it was last year. And if it is, then yeah, I think Florida State's got a shot. What do you guys think?
Matt, what do you think? You've seen a lot of practice. You've been to every one, right? So go ahead.
Yeah, I thought the defense has looked really good so far. Today, at the beginning of practice, they pretty much dominated. At the end, the offense finally got their way, but they dominated at the beginning of practice today. It's the main thing that's going to go wrong is how young your safeties are. But other than that, I don't think this defense is going to be that bad. But again, like Ira said, the offense is going to be so overpowering that you might not need it as much.
Yeah, that's fair. They're thin at safety. They've got a couple vets, and Shaheem, this will be his first year in the full role. But they're working Kevin Noles there, and early on, that experiment looked to be pretty good. It's just I think you're going to have to fill some of those pieces in the secondary with some younger guys, but they're bringing in a different class of player guys. Ira, go ahead. Looks like
that's what I was just going to say. That like that Ashlyn Barker, if you need a fourth safety behind, Shaheem, you got Shaheem Brown, you've got Akeem Dent, you've got Kevin Noles now moving from nickel to safety most of the time. It looks like. And then I think to me, of that next group, it's Ashlyn Barker. I think, and he's a guy that didn't play at his junior college last year, but he's been out of high school for a full year. He was part of a national championship winning junior college football program that had pretty decent facilities. So I think you can tell he looks a little bit more physically developed than some of the other freshmen, and he looks really smart. Like he seems to get what they're doing. He runs sometimes with the better players and seems to fit in well. So, if he's your fourth option, I think you're okay. If you have an injury or two at safety, you're going to have some issues, but if they don't, I think they're going to be okay.
Thank you, Anon, for the question, and to everybody who's joined us so far tonight and have filed questions away in the message boards who are catching this after. We really appreciate your support at Warchant. It's been a year now on the new network, and we can't wait to kick off this first game. We'll have some details for you about what's going on in Orlando in the next 24 hours as well, which is pretty exciting. FSU Sharon asks, where's the Warchant celebration of leaving the ACC going to be? Matt, I'm going to say the College Town location is Madison. Where are you going to be?
I'll be at Madison Social. Yeah, okay. I'll be at Madison Social.
Ira, the adult phase of the party. Where are we going?
I thought Matt was going to bring us all to recess. I thought we were going to throw Corey in the pool. And, I don't know, man. It's going to be crazy. We're going to be doing keg stands, right? gotta be
that's keg
funneling.
stand worthy. Yes.
Right.
I know you want to run it back on the funnel. Is that
I
correct?
definitely want to run it back in the funnel. I need my second. I need to take 2 on that. That was a disaster. I didn't look, man. I didn't want to say anything publicly at the time. Maybe, hopefully, Gene's not watching this. I feel like Gene he kind of let me down a little bit in setting me up. Wasn't a great spotter. Look, I'm not pointing fingers, but I feel like this time I'm going to take a little more ownership, and it'll go better for me. But yeah, man, we're funneling. Dude, I don't know, man. I don't know.
How about funneling some white wine just to say goodbye to the ACC? Don't you think that's appropriate? A little Pinot Grigio?
That's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea.
Gene, I think, is good on one end of the funnel game. He's very experienced at throwing down with the funnel.
Oh, he nailed it. No question.
Yeah.
We could do some like a charcuterie board, like some pate, maybe like some I don't know. Would Gene spring for some caviar or something? Like, I feel like we should. I like the idea of doing it fancy.
We should take advantage of Gene's generosity when the ACC thing is over. I think he will be in such a good mood that we could pretty much ask anything, and I think he'd be game for it. Magnums of champagne, whatever he wants. Right. Yeah, I think he'll do it. So to be determined, FSU Sharon, but I think we've got a couple of good ideas that we will follow through on, just like we did. People didn't think we were going to follow through on the keg stand thing. Yeah. They didn't think we were going to do it, but we did it, and the CP was rocking that day.
You guys definitely did. That was impressive. I don't know if it was for the faint of heart, but it was impressive.
Funnel champagne. That sounds like a horrible idea. That's just a mess. I don't know about that, Jeremy, but keep the ideas coming. FSU man asks, if FSU does in fact move to the SEC, can Florida State revisit the plans to shrink Doak to 65,000 seats? One would think we need all the seats we can get. FSU man, this was actually answered by Peter Collins 9 days ago on the live stream, or 8 days ago. What did he say, Ira?
No. Basically, I mean, look, I get it. I understand why fans want the stadium to stay huge, and they want to see 80,000 seats, and I get it and I understand it, but the industry is not really going that way. I know there's a few stadiums out there that are still 90 to 100,000 seats, but a lot of them, the vast majority, are kind of going more to that pro model. I don't love it either, but the feeling is that fans don't want to sit on metal bleachers anymore. They want to feel like they're being entertained. They want chairbacks. They want seat service. Being able to order food and drinks at their seats. Yep. They want different options, and they don't want to be scrunched together. So this is happening. I made the comment during that conversation, Tom, that they're early in the process, and he was like, we're not really early.
Yeah.
So they're down the road.
He checked you, then he checked me for being pessimistic about last season. I was like, man, I didn't have the heart to say, what are you talking about? I was Mr. 10-win guy.
Yeah, I know.
All right. So in the chat, for those of you that are here with us, the Warchant members, feel free to respond to this. What would you like to see first at Doak? Luxury seat options or better Wi-Fi? Go ahead. I just want to take a straw poll there, please.
I think Wi-Fi is always going to be number one on the list, right?
Christmas. It's been horrible since I was a student, and my first class in UCD was 2006. It was awful then. We're 2023, Ira.
It's incredible. And they've done things to try. It's awful.
They went to Best Buy to get a range extender. Like, that's not a work.
They put out a release like 3 or 4 years ago. We've invested. We've got better Wi-Fi, and I don't know, man. Maybe it's in the president's box, but it's not anywhere else.
Metronet, you watching? Fiber. Get the fiber. Osceola Trucker asks, good day, Warchant. As we see college football move to super conferences, how likely do you think it is that the regular season gets expanded beyond the current 12-week, we'll go with 12-game format, and by how much? What do you think, Ira? Do you think it goes longer in the regular season?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, I think because the playoff is the thing that's getting bigger. I don't think the regular season is going to get bigger. And as it is right now, there's going to be a lot of pushback. And man, if you start having injuries in those playoff games, I think there's going to be a lot of negative. Especially until players are getting paid. Now, once they start getting paid, it's officially they're getting paid. Maybe that'll be different. But I think, I don't see the regular season getting any longer.
I'll answer that in a second. But Matt, let me ask you a different kind of question. It's been a long time since we've been in our early 20s. How do you feel about the 12-team playoff format. I mean, you mostly lived in the era of the playoff as an adult. We weren't used to that. That was a big change for us from the BCS or the Bowl Alliance. How do you feel about it? And do you think 12 is a good number?
I mean, I think 12 is a great number. They can't really, that'll be so much to where obviously every game takes such a physical toll on the players. You can't really expand it much from that. And then it also shuts everyone up about expanding it. So, because again, that's probably the biggest number it can get. And it's more fun. I mean, I've heard you talk about it before. Imagine having a playoff game at Doak.
Yeah, man.
That would be incredible. Like, that's not, like, that would be amazing in my eyes. And that's like the best possible scenario coming from that.
Matt also wants more games to bet on.
Yeah.
I do. I would like that. I'm good during football season.
That's the one thing. One of the few things I really love about the up and coming generation is they're not afraid to throw down. As the NCAA is finding out, as they're handing out suspensions, it seems like every day for wagering. Yeah, Osceola Trucker, I think if it's going to expand, it's going to expand the other way. As in, there are more playoff games, and maybe they'll shrink it down to an 11-game regular season with a conference championship weekend or conference championship semifinals, after a 10-game season, because the 10 games can all be conference games. I don't see it going to 13 or 14 regular season games. I think they want postseason inventory, because if COVID taught us anything, guys, it's like when MLB was trying to restructure their deal and the NFL, playoff games are worth so much more money to everybody involved in regular season games, especially when they're scheduled against like FCS opponents or things like that.
Right.
Also, keep in mind the conference championships are basically playoff games too, because it's an auto bid for the Power Four now at that point.
Yes, that's correct. Last week Peter Collins called it the Pac-9, and now we're down to the Pac-4. Nullboy02 says, rather, what would Warchant do to celebrate leaving the ACC? So we've hit on that a little bit. I think we're workshopping ideas on wine funnels. We could do wine chugs maybe. I really think that wine has to be a centerpiece here. And I like the idea, Ira, of the charcuterie board. Maybe some candlelit ceremonies for the ACC. I don't know. Anything else pop in your brain?
I was just thinking back to back in the day when Corey and I were at the Democrat, and we didn't do stand-ups, like we didn't do the Warchant rap exactly the way we do it now, but Corey and I used to do little post-game videos, and we did one on Snuggy Hill, and we kind of played off to the theme of like we were sitting there enjoying some glasses of wine, and so we definitely have to play up that theme. I think I think my biggest concern is like getting too out of control. Like I don't want to hit the hard stuff. No meth. No, no 8 balls. Like
no. That's the SEC welcome party. That's not the ACC exit party.
I'm afraid we're going to get a little too carried away. Is all I'm saying.
Sweater vests. That's the other thing. I think a sweater vest would probably be a good play. Also, we should use the terms behind the scenes. We should disable the monetization of a YouTube video, have some Sarah McLachlan with some black and white photos of ACC venues. I think that would be a real.
Can we get like an ice sculpture that says ACC and just put candles by it so it melts faster and everyone just sits and watches it melt?
Now we're talking. This is how you spend Gene Williams' money right here on ice sculptures. The last ice sculpture I saw was I think the Rose Bowl in 2014. They had a pretty nice one for FSU in Oregon. Invictus Seminole. All right. I looked at this before we started. There's a lot here, and we appreciate it, Invictus. So we'll start with the first graph. In the secondary, is there any player who played last year who has not taken a step forward in their development? We'll cut it off right there, and then we'll continue to the next question. I had a hard time thinking of one off the top of my head. It is also very early in camp. Matt or Ira, anybody that you feel like they're just kind of stuck in the mud right now?
Not really.
I wouldn't say stuck in the mud. I would say that I haven't seen any big jump from Akeem Dent, but I think it's hard for guys that have been here for 6 years to make more improvement. Like you're going to see a lot of improvement in a Greedy Vance who going into a second year, or even Kevin Noles, or Shaheem, or certainly AZ Thomas. I think AZ Thomas he's probably made the biggest jump, right? I mean, of any of the defensive backs, but he only had 1 year here, so. I would say Akeem hasn't shown me anything a whole lot more than in the past, but I think that's hard when you're so far into your career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Matt, what do you think? AZ Thomas, somebody else jump out to you as most improved? Because that's the second part of the question here.
Most improved? I mean, I'm going with Greedy. I've liked what I've seen from Greedy a lot. I don't think he's been talked about a whole lot, but I mean, he's been going up against the big boys too, like Keon and Johnny. He's been holding his own.
Yeah, agreed. The funny thing was we were talking about it on the JCS today, the Jeff Cameron Show, which is here on Warchant TV at 1:00, Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays. I've been spending so much time, guys, watching the trenches. I really don't have much of a frame of reference. I mean, you know it. I'm like glued to that corner. And when they go 11 on 11, yeah, I can tell you what's going on. But the one-on-ones, Jeff's talked about AZ Thomas. Now, Ira, you have. I haven't seen a whole lot in 11 on 11 because the ball just hasn't come his way. But you've seen improvement there?
I mean, he's been the biggest difference to me is, I mean, part of it's, he's better in technique and he knows what he's doing more. But also, like, there's a confidence that came with that to where now he lines up on Johnny Wilson, and you could tell, man, he wants to win every battle against Johnny Wilson. Like, there's no, I don't know, man. Like, you would think if you're a guy coming off your freshman year where you played some, but we're not, one of the top guys, and that's the number one receiver. I don't know. I just think you'd be a little bit, intimidated. But man, he goes at him, and he had a great breakup on a pass today, where he just, he beat the receiver to the ball. I think it might have been Johnny, beat him back to the ball, and he's been real aggressive, and it's awesome, man. Because I wondered if he was a guy that maybe would get a look at safety if they needed some depth issues, because I didn't know how good he would be a corner, but he's been outstanding, I think, so far this preseason.
So we'll go to the next question, and then we'll take some from the live chat. We'll take a break from the boards after this. This is Invictu's final question. Could you rank the true freshmen, early enrollees and summer enrollees, in terms of aptitude within the system? I'm sure this is still about the secondary. The good news is there's a lot to choose from here. I will hazard a guess to start. I think KJ Kirkland may be at the top of that list. I really like how smooth Quindarius Jones is a corner. I just think there are more options in front of Quindarius, so I don't know that there's a chance for movement. Edwin Joseph's first week was really eye-opening. I know Ira really, really liked him. And then probably Jabril Rawls, followed by Conrad Hussey. I might be missing one or two. I know Ashlyn Barker kind of counts, kind of doesn't. But guys, go ahead. Whoever wants it. Matt, do you want it first? Go ahead.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you on KJ Kirkland. I mean, I liked him since my first day at Warchant and doing the tour of duty. I was like, that was the one guy who stood out. After that, I'll go with Edwin Joseph. I mean, hasn't done a whole lot since that first day, but he's looked really good. After that, I'll go with Barker just because of experience, and then probably Conrad Hussey.
What do you think, Ira?
Yeah, you can definitely tell the difference between the guys that were here in the spring and the guys that weren't. That is a big difference. The early enrollees and sometimes I don't know how much credence people put into that. And there's so many guys that are early enrollees now compared to back in the old days when it might be only a few guys. But it's a big difference. You can see it. You can see KJ Kirkland and Quindarius Jones have a level of understanding that Conrad Hussey and Edwin Joseph and some of those guys don't yet, but there's tons of talent there. That freshman DB group is really impressive. And Jabril Rawls is probably the least physically ready. He's just a smaller, skinnier kid. But I think he's got a lot of talent. You can see the talent there. He just he's not as big and strong yet as some of those other guys were. But it's an impressive group, man. If that group stays together, you could see a really cool defensive back nucleus in a year or two.
Invictus Seminole, we really appreciate the questions. Is it just me, or are they getting downhill more in the secondary? It looks like they're just attacking the ball more. I've seen that in 11 on 11. I haven't seen 7 on 7 or 1-on-1s. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, I mean, I think that that was one of the things that I thought. One of the comments Mike Norvell made, it was a question Jeff asked in the spring about the change to Patrick Surtain and kind of what he was hoping to see. And one of the things that Norvell said was sometimes it's just how you communicate things. And the impression it gave was like that Patrick Surtain has got more of a go get it mentality and not less of a don't give up the big play, but more go get the ball. Yeah. And I don't know if it's as simple as that, but that's kind of the vibe I got. And it seems like they've been a little bit more ball hawking, I think.
Yeah, Matt, your undergrad career didn't have a whole lot of good secondary play. What do you think now?
No, I mean, I remember Jeff pointed it out at practice. Like, look, they're doing drills with the DBs where like they actually have to go catch the ball in the corner of the end zone. Like, when was the last time we saw that? Like, it's good to see. And also, you got to keep, like, a few months ago, we were all worried about the safety position. We were worried not as much about the corners, but we're all worried about the secondary. And now, looking where we're at, you got a bunch of young, talented guys who we think are going to develop really well. Keep in mind, you also have 2 5-stars coming in next year. Like, so it's going to develop very fast and get to an elite point probably within 1 or 2 years.
It's just different body types too. I mean, they look like players of the modern age of college football, and not small dudes who really need to play beyond perfect technique in order to win a battle. That's part of it, which is great. Now to some questions in the live chat for those of you that are with us, and we really appreciate your support of Warchant.com. Hope you're enjoying Ask Warchant Anything. To tease something coming next week as well, Corey Clark's going to do an Ask Warchant Anything chat on the boards. We'll give you a time and date as we get into early next week. But this is going to be a mix between the video and doing some chats as well on the boards. Go ahead, Ira.
So, yeah, one thing I just wanted to say for any new members, welcome, because their promotion that you mentioned earlier that's going on right now and that is, I think, expiring at midnight across the entire network. Warchant's already the biggest website in the entire On3 network. Of this promotion, which has been going on for, I guess, 8 days or 8 or 9 days, Warchant has sold more membership subscriptions than any other site in the network as well, by a substantial amount. So there's a lot of excitement about Florida State. There's obviously a lot of, and hopefully a lot of appreciation for the content. So we're glad to do these things, and welcome if you're a new subscriber.
I should probably tack on as well. We have a promotion with the Battle's End. If you are a Battle's End supporter and you started supporting the Battle's End in the last week or so, you automatically get a Warchant.com membership. So if you're watching this from that camp as well, that's in the triple digits. Within a couple days, boom, it happened like that. So, yes, a lot of people to welcome aboard. There's more coming. This coverage only gets better and better as we go along, too, because we're getting closer to full pads tomorrow. So we'll get to see even better practices over the next week and a half. So to the first question on the board, or on the chat, I should say, it's from Michael L. Langston, how's it going? Percent chance that Joshua Farmer and or Daryl Jackson are back next season. Who wants this one? What do you think, Iro?
Daryl Jackson would be the least likely of the two to me. I like Josh Farmer, and he's going into his third year, but I don't know that he's going to have played enough and done enough after this year to go, because to me, he's a guy that might have first round potential, definitely has second round potential. And I don't know if he'd be a first or second round pick after next season. So we'll see what kind of year he has. But when you've got Braden Fisk and Fabian Lovett up in front of you, I don't know that he's going to have a huge enough year to have a real tough decision. But I could be wrong. And the good thing is with NIL, they can make it can be worth your while to stay in college, as we saw with Jordan Travis, Jared Verse. I think it was like in September, October last year, everybody was convinced Jared Verse was going to go pro. He ended up staying, and part of it is because he can make money in college, where they used to not be able to do that. So I think there's a good chance there's a really good chance Farmer would be back next year. Jackson, I think less, especially if he gets to play this year and has a good year.
Yeah, that's true. If there is a way to clear a path to get some film out there, that's a good point. You never know; it could happen. There are politicians lobbying for it. Matt, what do you think?
I don't know. Josh Farmer already tried to leave once, just to kind of put it out there. But I would be surprised if both of them left. Daryl Jackson, like we just said, there's just not – as of now, there's just not going to be any film. So it's hard to – even though there were scouts there to look at him a few days ago, I believe, at practice. But I'd be surprised if either of them left. There's just not enough playing time, not enough film.
Yeah, I think, as you look at priorities for a group like the Battle's End, retention was a big part of year one for them. Farmer has to be near the top of the list. Patrick Payton might be at the top of the list if you're just doing roster projections and moving forward. We'll see. I put it at better than 50%. At least one of them is back, and you never know on both. Daryl Jackson said all the right things. I was surprised they made him immediately available after the news, but he said all the right things yesterday after practice. So
and I don't think we mentioned any of the content we did today, but he practiced today. So he's still practicing and still part of the team. So if something does change, he'll be ready.
Timothy asks, haven't heard much about Ja'Kai Douglas in camp so far. What impact do y'all expect for this season? I think he's in the rotation in the battle or slot. That's my impression of it. But again, I don't watch as much one-on-ones. So either of you guys, Matt, let's start with you this time.
Yeah, he's doing well, just like everyone else. He's in the rotation. He's done good in a few one-on-ones. He did good. I think he had one play in the first 3 days last week. But yeah, he's been there. He's the same guy as he was, really.
Yeah, it's we can't always talk about everything that happens in practice. So I like Ja'Kai Douglas. I think he's going to be a weapon, in this offense when he's available. We'll kind of have to play it by ear how that goes.
Makes sense. Next up on the list is Dave. Dave says, how many FSU players are finalists for postseason awards? Oh boy, that's I did not pre-read this question. That's a tough one.
Finalists, like
Finalists.
Okay, so not these watch lists.
No.
I
Like,
can go down my email and count the watch lists and see.
we get one every hour from Florida State, it seems. Yeah, so I guess that means they go to Orlando for those ESPN awards, or they go to New York for the big award.
I mean, so let's go position by position. Jordan has a good chance to be a finalist for some quarterback / Heisman awards.
Yep.
I think he's one we would count.
Yep.
Do we think Trey has a shot at Doak Walker?
I think he's got a shot to be a finalist. He's gonna rack up a lot of all-purpose numbers. I don't know if the rushing total is gonna be crazy, but I mean,
it would help. All those awards. It helps if you're on a really good team.
Yep.
That's true.
Yep. I think first obviously has to be in that conversation.
One of the receivers. One of the receivers will be at the blink to cough.
Who's more likely out of the receiver core between Johnny Wilson or Keon Coleman? Has anybody changed their stance, or is it still Johnny would be the more likely finalist for an award? Anybody brave enough to say Keon?
I'm curious, man. I'm really curious. Keon is, as I say yesterday in headlines, he's blown me away. There was something cool today at practice, and we've seen like little snippets of things like this, but I thought today was a really cool moment because it just happened right near me. But they were teaching the receivers a drill, like some release drill. It was like the hand-to-hand combat where the student assistant or whatever has the little things, the clubs there, and they've got to like fight off, do the hand fighting to get the release. And I think Deuce Spann did it, and he did it, and the coach let him go. But Keon Coleman actually pulled him aside and showed him like something he does to make it even better. And man, how cool is that? I just think I'm so impressed with that kid. And then he's a fantastic receiver too. It wouldn't surprise me. I thought Johnny would definitely be the top dog there. It wouldn't shock me if Keon ended up being the guy.
Matt, are you flip-flopping? Are you saying Keon's more likely to be a finalist, or are you sticking with Johnny?
I'll say Keon's more likely. I just like how athletic he moves. His lower body, great. Everything just looks so great. I just feel like Johnny is going a lot off of size and not athleticism right now. And if he goes more towards the athleticism and everything, I'll say Johnny. But right now, I'm going Keon.
I've seen some stuff from Johnny this camp that I hadn't seen before. That is still just a giant mismatch. And his release off the line, I don't know that he's Mike Evans as a clone, but it's the same thing where you look at somebody who's so large, you don't think they're going to surprise you at times. And he's already shocked a couple of corners this camp. You're nodding, Ira?
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's hard to say, man. It really is. I think Keon may be like a more, I don't know, man, maybe a more consistent receiver. He's a more natural pass catcher.
Yeah.
But Johnny's still 6'7", man, and he still runs like that and still jumps like that and is competitive. And they both want to block. Man, it's just gonna be fun to watch, man. I just I wish everybody could watch the whole practices. But I'm glad everybody's going to watch the games because it's going to be fun to watch those guys. But yeah, either one of those guys could be there, but maybe they won't because they won't have the numbers. Like that's right. the challenge with it's, and like Jaheim Bell could be one of the top tight ends possibly, but I don't know that he's going to have, we don't know the numbers, how it's going to shake out.
Marqueson could hawk a lot of touchdowns or hawk a lot of big plays. I mean, he's had a phenomenal camp, by the way. Even in just watching the blocking drills every day. One of the coaches is yelling out just, unabashed praise for his work as a blocker. And if he can bring that to the end of the line, next to one of the tackles, man, that's just, they've got so many weapons. So Dave, we'll set the over under at how about 4?
I'm going to say 4 or 5.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Dave. Oh, shotgun beer contest. Who wins? I'm going to go with youth. In this one, unless Ira wants to bow up. Shoot, man, I got beat by my wife in the post-game show last year. She slammed a beer. I'm not sure it was 100% full, but that's okay. I'm going to go Matt. Then if Ira's motivated, maybe Ira. And
I can't talk anymore, man, after my debacle with the funneling. So I'm not going to talk, but I'll next time I'll be about it. I promise I'll be about it.
Shotgunning is one weakness of mine. My friends make fun of me for how slow I am. So we'll see.
All right. Well, hopefully we get to see it for the ACC exit party. There we go. Steve Guitar, nice, very musical name. Could Florida State's linebacker recruiting be trending in a big way? Steve, that's almost like the title of an article that appeared on the front page of Warchant.com this morning. Who wrote that article?
I don't know. I think Ira got that one.
Go ahead,
No,
Matt.
that was Matt.
Yeah. It should be 2025 is the 2025 class is when it should trend up, or at least in my opinion, it will. You already have Jadon Perlotti, who basically said he was going to follow KJ wherever he goes. He's committed to Georgia right now. Well, KJ just committed to us, obviously, and he's already – me and Michael both put in picks for him to flip, hopefully sometime soon, but eventually we think it will happen. And also you got a kid from my neck of the woods in Dallas, Elijah Bo Barnes, who is friends with Dylan Brown-Turner on the team. When he came here in June, he loved it. I think Michael was talking to him, like just not in an interview sense, but just one-on-one. And he compared it to like other schools like Texas, saying he liked it better than that at the time. I think right now he's seen as an A&M lean, but he also just visited there in that July weekend. So that makes sense this early in that recruitment. The other ones were both here for the Seminole Showcase that weekend in July. What was it, 2-3 weeks ago now? You have Ethan Pritchard and Tarvos Alford. It goes by TJ. TJ actually was supposed to go to UF that weekend and canceled it last second to come to Florida State, and he's considered a UF lean, so that's always a good sign there. He loved it. He loved Coach Shannon. He loved the way he coaches. Pritchard also felt that same way about Shannon. Obviously loved the way he coaches, but Pritchard also went to Alabama recently, or got an offer from Alabama recently, and he called it his dream school, so that's obviously worrying. But when I talked to him, and I've talked to him a few times just over text and stuff too, that Florida State, he says, will always have a place in his heart just because he's from around here, or he's from Florida. And it's obviously Florida State. It will always be in his heart. So I think we have a chance to go down to the end with him. Yeah.
Here's the thing with the Randy Shannon as a recruiter storyline is going to be something to watch over the next year or two, because so many people are down on him as a recruiter because he's known as having the Randy specials and the 3 stars and all that. Look, I don't think Mike Norvell is going to just only sign 3-star linebackers forever. So, and Blake Nicholson was a nice, highly recruited guy. So we'll see how it goes. But if Matt put up that article today, there's quickly some people who are happy to say they don't believe it, or they're not going to give Randy Shannon credit. We'll see how it plays out. I'm not saying it will be the same thing, but a lot of people were down on Ron Dugans. Yep. It turned around, and we'll see if it turns around for Randy Shannon.
Turn around in a heartbeat. Riley asks, what is one thing on either side of the ball that made you think that's the standard? Ira, you've been covering this group for a long time. You've seen the standard, and you've seen a whole lot of not the standard. What do you think?
I mean, the first thing that stands out to me is, if you're out there, it's just the size, and everybody that comes out there says the same thing. I mean, it's the size of not just it's mostly the linemen, but it's not only the linemen. I mean, it's the DBs, like you said earlier. You're not bringing in 5'9", 5'10" DBs and asking them to play big. You're bringing in 6'1" guys and guys with long arms. Really good measurables. So that would be my thing. I think usually when the coaches, or today Shaheem Brown was talking about, or it was yesterday, Shaheem was talking about the standard, and when they bring young players in, they have to learn what the standard is here at Florida State. And I think the most obvious example is, man, you can't walk between drills. You can't do things kind of half-assed. An example, I think perfect example would be, not to put him down, but in the spring, Hakeem Williams wasn't ready physically, conditioning wise, to go through practice the way they want him to. And you see such a stark difference now compared to the spring, right? He looks like a different guy. So to me, those are the two things, just the size of people, but then also just the way, the effort level between drills and during drills.
Yeah, Briley, I'll answer this and say the interest level in watching the 2s and the 3s play in practice, that's different. Like, now I care, like, it's not that I didn't write stuff down in the notebook, but you're like, oh, you know what? I want to see how, and Mike said, Norvell said on the record that he would, move the quarterbacks around to put them in different situations and expose them to different situations like he did in the spring. So, all right, Duffy's coming off the sidelines. Let's see what he does with this group, or let's see what Brock Glenn, Glenn's in there. Or Tate Rodemaker, moving up with maybe the first group. It's just, when you watch the quarterbacks with these different guys, and then you see the different waves of, linebackers, Blake Nicholson is now somebody that I pay close attention to when he's on the field. I don't know the last time I cared about a freshman linebacker and said, what's this kid going to be? Same thing with the defensive backs. It's just, there's a lot more to choose from. Matt, do you have an answer to this?
Yeah, I mean, I have one thing from now and then one thing from when I used to watch Florida State as a kid, if that counts. But I would say for me, it's how Norvell yells at them when they do get a one-handed catch. Even if it's an amazing, great grab, Norvell is still in their face, chewing them out no, you need two hands. That's a big thing to where it's the little things matter and the little things add up. And I think that's something we've seen a lot of kind of as this team's gotten better. And as I was a kid, I remember when I first watched Florida State, it was, wow, they hit hard, really hard. I feel like that's something over the years of Willie into maybe beginning of Norvell, but now it's not, but it just kind of lost that.
Yeah. How old were you when Florida State won in the Rose Bowl in 2013?
I actually have the hat right there. I would have been 13, 14.
Oh, jeez. Okay. All right. Different era.
Yeah, I got it. Here. I got the hat.
There you go. Yeah, that's got on the bottom of the bill. It's all
all the shiny.
All shiny stuff. Yeah. That's what prevented me from wearing that. Ira, yeah.
I was going to say, who's your favorite player on that team, Matt?
I'm trying to think of the rest of the roster, but obviously I'm just going to go with Jameis anyway.
Yeah.
Not a bad choice.
Jeremy asks, have you seen a different side of Mike Norvell at practice, or is it the same Mike? I think it's the same guy. Anybody? Yeah. All right. That's an easy one. Thank you, Jeremy. And thank you to the chatters on the live side of the operation. Let's go back to the boards for a little bit. Ira, you want to make a point?
I want to ask you guys, since this is Ask Warchant anything, not just this football team questions, I want to ask you guys, who is your guys' favorite baseball players growing up?
Oh, man.
I know you're a Mets fan.
You say that with such disdain.
You're a Mets fan.
Not many options.
Well, Ken Griffey Jr. was everything when I was a kid.
Right.
I mean, he had the video game. He was on all the commercials. The sweetest home run swing of all time, I think. It's just beautiful. Even in the home run chase of 98, Ken Griffey was in that race until he got hurt early on in the year. I think he would have been there down the stretch. Mets-wise, I mean, Edgardo Alfonso. I know that's probably a deep cut name, but I love me some Edgardo Alfonso. He was a really good second baseman and third baseman. And then pitching, I love Pedro Martinez.
Man, Pedro Martinez is one of those guys that even hating the teams he's pitching for, it's just you can't help but just have so much respect. It's dude, the dude was a machine. It's just filthy forever.
He's tiny, and he could throw 99. I mean, in the steroid era, and he might have been juicing too. I mean, if who was the guy, Matt? Maybe you remember Ira. Who was the really skinny guy from the Marlins who got popped for PEDs 2 or 3 years ago? He was 140 pounds soaking wet. So if that dude can be guilty of PEDs, then Pedro could have been.
Reminds me of or Brady Anderson's 50 home run season.
Right. Fernando Tatis hit 40 some out of nowhere, senior, not junior. And his the next high season was 18. So Pedro could have been juicing, but what he did to those hitters in that era, and some of those bandboxes in the American League, especially the East, my God, it was unholy. But Matt. How about you?
Big Papi, easy, no hesitation. I had a poster of him in my room since I was 5, so that's an easy question. I also liked Jacoby Ellsbury a lot back in the day before he went to the Yankees. I dressed up as him for Halloween once, even got the little 2 stars on the back for when he made the All-Star game. But once he left, that was over. But yeah.
To explain. You might need to. Can you explain real quick to the people who are watching this who don't know you as well how the hell you're a Cowboys fan and a Red Sox fan?
Okay,
can you explain that for everybody?
He likes winning.
I like winning. I'm originally from Connecticut, Glastonbury, small town right outside of Hartford. After 5th grade, I think it was, I moved to Frisco, Texas, just north of Dallas, home of the Dallas Cowboys now of the Star. I'm sure you've seen that. So it kind of the Red Sox were my first ever team. So it kind of stuck. But then as I moved to Dallas, I worked at the Star in high school. I was around a bunch of Cowboys players. So it was hard to not be a Dallas and a Cowboys fan.
And your mom went to Florida State, right?
Yep. My dad went to Pitt. So.
And not much of a choice then when it comes to football fandom.
No. Big ACC family.
Yeah. Are they going to the game in November?
We'll see. Haven't decided yet. I'm trying to say that if we announce we're leaving, it's the last time they're probably ever going to play.
Yeah.
So you have to.
Good angle. I like that angle. Happy hour. Ira, how about you? Wait a minute. What are we doing here? We're not reciprocating. Come on.
I think I may have mentioned it at some point in the headlines, but or the smash. But yeah, actually Eddie Murray was my guy, and then Cal became my guy. The longevity. But Eddie, during that, from like 7 to 8 years old to 12, 13, 14 years old, Eddie Murray. I loved Eddie Murray.
One of my first memories as a Met fan is watching Jeff Kent and Eddie Murray in the same lineup, Ira.
There you go.
That's where he went for his final cup of coffee. All right. Happy Hour Noel asks, is Jordan Travis more Jameis Winston, EJ Manuel, or Christian Ponder?
That's a tough one.
I don't know about any of those. I think he's Charlie with a dash of maybe Ponder. I don't know, though.
That's pretty good.
What do you think, Ira?
That's pretty good. Pretty good description there. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's I'll tell you what though, like he's becoming more Ponder Jameis like as a passer, just because he knows the offense so well. Like that was the thing that the reason Jimbo loved Christian Ponder was because Christian got the offense. I remember speaking of Drew Weatherford, because Drew Weatherford is we have a guest column from Drew Weatherford on Warchant right now talking about the future of college athletics. He's on the board of trustees now. People can go read that at warchant.com. He's got some really strong comments about the future of college athletics and why schools like Florida State need to seriously consider what they do. But when Drew was basically the incumbent quarterback, when Jimbo came in as coordinator and Christian was languishing at the bottom of the depth chart, a lot of people thought Christian had been recruited just because his dad, David Ponder, played at Florida State and was close to the program. But right away, like when Christian sat down and studied Jimbo's offense, like it clicked. And that's the way it was with Jameis. I don't know if Jordan clicked with Norvell right away, but I think it's to that point now. And I don't know if it ever really did with EJ and Jimbo, quite to the same level.
Yeah, have we talked about some of the absurd throws he's made in camp? I feel like we're talking about the receivers, but Jordan is putting it on these guys in ridiculous ways, and every day, Ira.
Yeah, I thought in the spring, like Mike Norvell's made that comment so much that I think people are kind of glossing over it when he says that Jordan might have been the most improved player in the spring. Mm-hmm. He really might have been. Like he was unbelievable in the spring, and I think he's might be even better now. Man, I mean, it's gonna be fun to watch him play, man. He knows exactly where to go with every ball, and he's making all the throws. As Matt said, the start of practice today was not great for the offense. The defense kind of got on him, and the offense seemed really in sync. But for the most part, yeah, man, Jordan's been outstanding.
Matt, I'll go off the board in a way. Who do you think he's the most like of any quarterback you've ever seen? Who do you think Jordan Travis resembles?
Ever seen? I don't know if there's one. I don't think there's anyone to really compare to him because he can use his legs, but he still considers himself a pocket passer, or he says that a lot. Like I don't think I've ever really heard many quarterbacks kind of say something like that when they're known for running so much. Like, do you think Lamar Jackson ever considered himself a pocket passer?
Well, we know Jimbo didn't because he didn't recruit him. You know what, man? Like this is ludicrous, but there's a little Mahomes in him, man. Like there's a little Mahomes in him. I swear, man. I think he's because the thing about Mahomes is people get so excited about what he does. It's not just that like he has the ability to make those plays, but that he knows where everybody is all the time, and he knows like it's like there's no look passes and stuff. I really think Jordan's at that point now where you're going to see him make some plays where you're going to be like, how the hell did he know that guy was open when he didn't even look over there? So I don't know, man. I think that's just one thing that's kind of creeped in my mind a little bit.
I cannot go there as much.
That's fine. That's fine.
But there have been moments in camp this first week where he gets through all of his progressions, and it's like boom. He found a couple of times. I think it was Monday, maybe his fourth or fifth guy, and it was boom, 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 out to fourth or fifth. It's impressive. Lion King Noles from the chat, real quick. How far can he throw the ball? I've seen 70 or 75 air yards. Actually, he did one this week that was about 65 and it looked easy to him.
I was about to say 80 max.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, I think it's a long way. Like, where does Florida State need to snap the ball from if they need a Hail Mary at the end of a half?
Oh man, yeah, probably the 35-ish maybe. But like the thing is, he doesn't throw it on a frozen rope like Aaron Rodgers or something.
Yep.
I mean, he's got to get some arc on it to go that distance, but he can get it there without question.
Could he make the throw over the frat house? I can't speak to that, but maybe, probably.
Probably.
Yeah, probably.
All right, back to the board questions, and this is the last 5-10 minutes or so we're gonna rapid fire these. Anybody have any recommendations for Clemson food? I was tailgated when I was up there, so I do not know. Matt, you got one?
I went to a different fraternity house at Clemson when I was there, so I can't really speak to good food.
What? Yeah, man. Like we always go in and out. Like a lot of people stay in Greenville,
Yep.
and I've heard a lot of good things about it. But man, like we always, since Corey's been on the beat for sure, we've always come back to Atlanta or whatever. Like I've never really spent a lot of time in Clemson.
So there's a place in Greenville. I'll give you this one, Tingler. Great name. Liberty Tap Room in Greenville. We had brunch and some beverages 10 years ago when Florida State laid the whooping. That's how we started the day. And we saw Bill Murray knock over Lee Corso on game day. But that's where we were, the Liberty Tap Room. It's basically in left field of their minor league ballpark. Very, very cool place. Old Gold Knoll. Any signs the O-line is gelling? Any thoughts based on your observations of practice as to how they'll be able to handle elite defensive lines? You guys mind if I lead off on this one?
Go ahead. You're the trenches.
I think that the O-line, they're still moving some guys around, but I've been very impressed with what I've seen strength-wise from some guys that you may not expect in terms of the interior. And I know you read the trench reports, Old Gold Knoll, but Darius Washington yesterday at practice, standing up Braden Fisk and holding him in his tracks. Nobody's done that all camp. Nobody has done that all camp. And he was able to do it back-to-back individual reps. And that I was just blown away by that. So Darius, we had heard in the offseason, I think was the one who heard it, that Darius had really taken to the challenge with a lot of the new guys that have been on campus. Been impressed with what Darius Washington has done. But I still think they're trying to find the correct five and moving some parts around. They still love Byers at tackle primarily. Alex Atkins went on record saying that, so we're not giving anything away. Les Harris is a tackle. But then you've got a host of dudes that you can move around. So I don't think they've settled on it, but I've just been impressed with the individual efforts I've seen. And Darius is one of the eye openers. But Ira, Matt, if you've seen anything, feel free.
I haven't watched too much of the O-line, Tom. I've let you do that, and then I grab you when they're getting back to work after you're working. So I'll let Ira answer this one.
Yeah, no, I mean, nothing like that's kind of been shocking to me. I think I'm still sticking to my guns. I think a lot of the veterans are going to play early this season, but it's cool that they have the options they have. I mean, there's nothing that's been disappointing about that group at all.
Agreed. Reposting a Renegade Express question. Oh, I know what this one is. So this is how much does FSU need to beat LSU by in week 1 to be number 1 in the country? I think if they started at number 5 where LSU is, C Swizzle, and I appreciate the question, I think a 17-point win might put them in the conversation. But pollsters have such a hard time moving teams from number 8 all the way. It would have to be Clemson 2013 level, excuse me, in order for Florida State to go to number 1 after week 1. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I did. I voted in the poll a few years, and in the AP poll, and it you do, especially as the year goes on, you're leery of making major jumps because you're admitting you were wrong the week before or the weeks before. From week 1 to week 2, you're more likely to do it because, hey, what did I know? I didn't realize that team was going to be that good. So you can see major jumps that first week, whereas I don't think you would after like the Clemson game. It's harder to move more than a few spots at that point of the year. But yeah, number 1, man, I think they'd have to win by 30. I don't think, because automatically some people will change the narrative to, well, we were wrong on LSU. And so I just don't think that's going to, they would have to just look unbelievable.
Agreed. I think you would need a few upsets in the top 4 too to even put in the question.
Be that soon. Yeah. I mean, you could blow them out which would be wonderful. And then you go on the road to Clemson and you win. And by that point, the argument is made for you. But in 1 week, that's just a lot to ask. All right. So I'm going to start moving these around from player to player here with us. Ira, Jared versus Sachs versus LSU. What are you setting the number at? What do you think?
1.5.
Okay. Matt, Jordan Travis touchdowns versus LSU. And we'll go with passing, not rushing. Yep.
I'll say 2.
2. Okay. I like those numbers. We're good with those. Noles 1761. Any super secret realignment information that might burn your sources for the future, but will tell us clearly we're announcing for the SEC by Monday? Don't have any. Noles 1761. Ira, you want to burn a source?
No, man. Like I said, we talked about it a little bit the last couple of days on the site that things are pretty quiet right now. I think Gene put up an update today on the site that people can look at. But even he says that, it's things are pretty tight right now. People that have been willing to talk haven't been as willing to talk.
Yep.
But I think that could be the quiet before the storm. So if I was putting money down, I still think there's a good chance they are going to announce by the 15th that over this next year they're going to be leaving. But I don't know that. I don't know that it's totally decided just yet either.
Yeah, I think this is the part of the process where the people who are talking the most right now know the least. I think that's fair to say. Seinfeld or Cheers? Matt, do you know what either of those are?
I've watched all of Cheers. I have watched all of Cheers.
Okay, so he goes Cheers by definition. Ira?
Yep. He's got to go with he's the Boston, the Sam Malone. He's got to go
That
with
is why I've watched it. Exactly why I watched it.
Cheers is close to my heart, man, because I grew up on Cheers. But Seinfeld's funnier.
Yeah, it's Seinfeld all the way. That's probably the New York influence. But the one absurd moment in Seinfeld that nobody finds funny that I do, it's Kramer is posing as Elaine's doctor to get her file because he wants to see what bad notes they're putting in her chart. And they said, "What was your name again?" And he goes, "That's correct." And then they throw him out. And I don't know.
Right, let me ask you this. Who were you more interested in, Kirstie Alley or Elaine? Julie Louis-Dreyfus.
Ooh, as a child, Kirstie Alley. As I grew up, Elaine.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
Yeah. I got a better appreciation for Elaine as I got older. Timing. Her timing's more about like adult. It's not like adult humor, like raunchy, but just it's more highbrow. So as you get older, you're like, oh, Elaine's actually a really good character. I thought she was terrible when I was a kid. Matt's going to say, by definition, Kirstie. Chances Rubio letter changes anything. Ira, 5%?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, maybe if there's a lot of political pressure. I mean, you do have a lot of national media that are, beating the drum a little bit. And you've got political people pushing in. So maybe if there's anything, I think maybe there's a reduction in the suspension, but I think you're right. Probably low. I mean, I think less than 20.
Yeah. It's a good political play, though, because it's free points. How many games into the season before the Jimbo Fisher and Bobby Petrino experiment fails? Ira, I mean, this is a question near dear. Are you Max Diesel? Is this your burner?
I watched all of Bobby Petrino's press conference the other day from Media Day. Just soaking it all in about how much he loves working with Jimbo. And we'll see. He says he's calling the plays in practice. So we'll see what happens in games and how long that lasts. And he's going to be up in the box. That's interesting. He said he wants to be up in the box, which makes me think Jimbo might cut the cord during the game. I can't hear you, Bobby. I don't know. I can't hear you. Yeah. And he pulls out his 16 pieces of paper and starts calling his own plays.
Over under Halloween before one of them's fired.
I don't know. What I really want to see is if the offense doesn't do well, and I think they're probably going to be decent this year. They'll have to be better than they were last year. What I can't wait for is if the offense isn't doing well and Petrino starts leaking that Jimbo's meddling the way he might have leaked that Bobby was meddling at some point. I don't know that. Maybe that might work out. We'll see how that plays out.
As I recall, Jimbo does 1s and 3s and 2s and 4s. So my guess is Petrino's calling the plays for the 2s and 4s in practice. That's just maybe a hunch. Steve says I'm Noles 1761. So thanks. Anybody out here Regal Noel? Feel free to take credit for that. Thank you for the 2 million views on that thread. Palinol, which has been what has been the biggest surprise so far in fall camp. I'll start. Kickers. They've been really good.
Yeah, they have been good.
Matt, go ahead.
I mean, just to go off what you said, the kickers, I think I took a video, it should be on Twitter, the Warchant Twitter, of Fitz making it was from the logo. I can't remember what the yardage was, but it was from the edge of the Seminole logo in the IPF. He missed one, but he made the one I got in video. So that's the one you can go look at. But it wasn't really a big surprise, but I'm going with Destin Hill just because I think we're surprised by how good he looks without playing for 2 years still.
Yeah.
The biggest surprise to me, and it's not a huge surprise either probably, but just seeing it is cool. Just the way Keon Coleman and some of these other transfers man, really are just like they just get assimilated so quickly. They do such a good job of them being teammates and like good, the positive, the perception of the transfer and mercenaries and all that. People, wonder how it's going to go. I mean, I can't be more impressed by particularly him, but him and a bunch of those transfers.
I'm glad you brought that story up because on Monday I saw the exact same thing with the exact same two players. Keon
Really?
trying to help Deuce along. So that's really cool because Deuce needs refinement and Keon has plenty of that. I mean, within one practice, you can see it. All right. We're really, really rapid firing now. Based upon what you know today, which conference will FSU be playing in when they go to Dublin? I'll say ACC. Bummer. ACC. Ira?
I mean, they'll still be in the ACC, but hopefully we know they're leaving and that they're going to the SEC. That's what
I think that's the hope. Who commissioned the study? Gene mentioned the Nuggets today. The way I read it, Seth, I thought ESPN commissioned that study. You'll have to go back and read that paragraph again, but I think that was the implication that ESPN tried to verify Florida State's notes. But that's just me. On a scale of 1 to 10, the probability and the announcement comes that Florida State is leaving the ACC by next week. Ira?
Man, I'm going to put it at 65%.
Okay, 6.5. What you got, Matt?
I'll still go 50-50. I'm not sure either way.
I feel 4.5. I'm not optimistic tonight, but here's hoping that changed. Matt has already addressed the Red Morgan flip to Alabama.
We're on to bigger and better things.
Yep.
And you said Howard is probably a
Howard is the biggest target right now. He has, from what I've heard and I talked to, he hung out a lot with Ricky Knight on his visit. Howard was kind of hard to get in contact with, but Ricky said he really enjoyed it and he thinks we're going to get him. And keep in mind, Ricky also said he thought we were going to get KJ before it happened. So maybe he's just really good at making RPM picks without being able to put them in.
The last two, and then if there are any more, I'll answer them, or somebody will in the board chat. But we thank you all for being here on Warchant. Ask Warchant anything. That is AWA on a Wednesday. We will have a Corey Board AWA next week. We'll give you the date and the time. But there's so much more coverage coming at Warchant.com. Florida State is over to Jacksonville tomorrow for day 1 of 2. We're an off-site part of training camp. This has been a Mike Norvell mainstay. And I believe that's a full padded practice, the first of its kind. Is that correct?
Right.
So that's yes. A big day. Corey and Aslan will be out there documenting the whole thing for us. So stay tuned to the website, warchant.com, and this channel. But here is the penultimate question. How has Morlock looked in practice? Haven't really heard a whole lot about him, asked Noel Pride. I'd say he's third in the order at tight end right now, squarely. But that doesn't mean that he's not a good get for Florida State in the offseason. Ira?
Yeah, I mean, he's been solid. I like him. But, you've got Marquise Douglas has been here in the system now for 4 years, is doing really well. Great size, can catch, does everything. Jaheim Bell was a super pickup out of the transfer portal. So everybody else is probably going to be behind them. But yeah, he's looked good. He has not been disappointing at all.
Island Chief asks, what offensive lineman hasn't started here has the best footwork? Who has the best footwork of the offensive linemen? I think Bless Harris to the second question is the most technical of any of the O-line. Maybe Maurice Smith after that. And as of the guys who haven't started here, I'm not going to do Casey Roddick or Byers because they played a lot of elsewhere. I'll say Julian Armella. I think Armella, especially as you get him out on the move, has really good footwork. But any objections to that, or guys?
I'm deferring to you, buddy.
Okay. All right. It's time for Ira's one more thing. Ira, what would you like to promote before we close for the night?
Wow. Yeah, man, just we got more recruiting coming. Michael's got a feature coming on the site. With basically he's kind of honed in on the top prospects he thinks Florida State has left on the board. How many commitments do they have now, Matt? It's close to 20 riders around that ballpark.
I want to say 21.
So they're probably not going to sign more than a few more. So basically what he's done is kind of put a list of about 7 guys that he thinks those final spots will come from. So that's going to be coming up on the website. Matt's got a story about Destin Hill that might go up on the site tonight. And then we've got, like you said, we got plenty of coverage coming from Jacksonville tomorrow and then throughout the weekend. So it's and then this first scrimmage, Florida State's first scrimmage is on Sunday. And after that, we'll talk to Mike Norvell and all the assistant coaches or the coordinators about that, how the scrimmage went.
Also, just throwing it out there. So the Ohio State AD announced he was retiring after this season, and Jeremiah Smith did make a comment about it on Twitter. So maybe
Oh.
Maybe the flip watch grows a little bit more.
Oh, geez. Look at you just throwing grease on the fire as we sign off here, Matt. Gentlemen, it has been a pleasure. For those of you that are still with us, we appreciate you hanging out for over an hour and all these questions. We'll be back in a video form fairly soon, but next week it's going to be a board format with Corey, so get those questions ready. Have a whole lot more from camp, including fully padded practice, to answer about. But for Ira and for
I like that Corey has to be different. Like he can't just do a video like everybody else is doing the videos. What can we explore that? Maybe we can explore that off air.
We can explore that on a future episode of Seminole Headlines, which you can catch on Tuesdays on Warchant TV live at 1:00. But he'll be back on video soon. We know that people want to ask him questions. And also, stay tuned. Tomorrow we'll have some rollout of Orlando plans. And that includes you members. We've got some stuff for you that we are really excited to share. So for Matt, for Ira, and Director Ben behind the scenes, thank you very much. To all of you who asked questions and participated and are catching us on demand on the boards, be on the lookout for AWA in the future. This is a support or an extra function for you, a little wrinkle in the system that's exclusively for you. So be on the lookout for more content like this on warchant.com. And until next time, we will see you later on Warchant TV.